together just like human beings. The pine trees had a secret of fire and guarded it jealously, so that no matter how cold it was, they alone could warm themselves. At length, an unusually cold winter came, and all the animals were in danger of freezing to death. But all their attempts to discover the pine's secret were in vain, till Beaver at last came upon a plan.
At a certain place on the Grand Ronde River in Idaho, the Pines were about to hold a great council. They had built a large fire to warm themselves after bathing in the icy water, and sentinels were posted to prevent intruders from stealing their fire secret. But Beaver had hidden under the bank near the fire before the sentries had taken their places. And when a live coal rolled down the bank, he seized it, hid it in his breast, and ran away as fast as he could.
Okay, Berkeley.
The pines immediately raised a hue and cry and started after him. Whenever he was pressed, Beaver darted from side to side to dodge his pursuers, and when he had a good start, he kept a straight course. The Grande Ronde River preserved this direction Beaver took in his flight, and this is why it is so tortuous in some parts of its course and straight in others.
Okay, beautiful. Greta, could you read paragraph 4?
After running for a long time, the pines grew tired, so most of them halted in a body on the river banks, where they remain in great numbers to this day, forming a growth so dense that hunters can hardly get through. A few pines keep chasing beaver, but they finally gave out one after another, and they remain scattered at intervals along the banks of the river in the places where they stopped.
Okay. There was one cedar running in the forefront of the pines, and although he despaired of capturing the beaver, he said to the few trees who were still in the chase, "We can't catch him, but I'll go to the top of the hill yonder and see how far ahead he is." So he ran to the top of the hill and saw Beaver just diving into the Big Snake River where the Grand Ronde enters it. Further pursuit was out of the question. The cedar stood and watched Beaver dart across Big Snake River and give fire to some willows on the opposite bank, and recross farther on and give fire to the birches, and so on to several other kinds of trees. Since then, all who had wanted fire have gotten it from these particular trees because they have fire in them and give it up readily when their wood is rubbed together in the ancient way. Cedar still stands alone on the very tip of the hill where he stopped, near the junction of the Grand Ronde and the Big Snake Rivers. He's very old, so old that his top is dead, but he still stands as a testament to the story's truth. That the chase was a very long one is shown by the fact that there are no cedars within 100 miles upstream from him. The old people point out to him to the children as they pass by. "See," they say, "here is the old cedar standing in the very spot where he stopped chasing the beaver." Awesome job. Okay, in the chat is a link to a Jamboard. Woohoo! How? Well, let's actually, before you can click on it, but I want you to look at, yesterday we wrote down these two words, compare, examine two things that are similar, and contrast, so something that is different. So I have a Jamboard. Woohoo! I actually do enjoy using these. And you can click it in the link now and use the Post-its on the outsides. Okay, so Riley, we don't need to write hi. You guys, I'm gonna call you out. Okay, use the Post-its. I want you to write some things about the coyote, some things about the beaver, and then in the middle, things that are very similar between them. So maybe you're talking about how they are. Okay, so maybe their personalities. Maybe you're going to maybe you want to add things that are similar and different about the stories. Okay, so use Post-its. I can type this a little bit clearer up here. So write similarities and differences about the characters and the stories. Okay, so go ahead and use Post-it notes, and you guys can write.
Can you send it to the chat one more time?
Yep. Are you guys able to edit? Oh, yes. Okay.
You were glitching out for me. What did you say we had to do?
Okay, so write similarities using Post-its. Write similarities and differences about the characters and the stories. Ooh, yep. And if you've copied things, perfect. That must mean that there was something that we all were able to catch. I'm just going to make things smaller. And like I said, if you repeat something, I'm okay with that. So we've got a lot of similar things. What are some differences? Ooh, one of them only had trees. Ooh, they're both fierce. Ooh, there's a monster in one. Somebody's writing the Bieber. We got Justin Bieber. Ooh. Sorry, I'm shrinking some of them.
I was trying to shrink the one that I wrote, but I couldn't.
Yep, I'll shrink it. Oh, and the beaver story. Okay, it was winter. How about now the personalities? So how would you describe the personalities between the two? No, the beaver is not a famous person, a beaver. Yep, so we got a beaver, so the little animal with the pelt. Oh, you crack me up. Thanks, Wyatt. I'm going to put that to the side. Maybe the Bieber is a big fan of Justin Bieber. Okay, I'm going to give us one more minute to write about the coyote and the beaver. Ooh. Okay, I'm going to change it so that you can't edit anymore. And then let's look. And actually, what I want you to do is I want you to do this with me. So I want you to go to Schoology. And under upcoming, there is a thing that says comparing and contrasting the beaver, or the coyote and the beaver. And it looks just like mine.
What
now
can
what
we
are
do with it?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a second. So can you put it in Notability? Yep.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Put this in Notability. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to write everything, but I want you to write what are some of the similarities and differences. Ooh, can I zoom up? Ooh, I can zoom. Woo! Okay, so we're going to look at some of these things together now. Okay, and I want you to have at least 3 in each one. Okay? So if you see something that you like, I want you to add it to your own circle, just like mine, because you should add this in Notability. Because when you're going to turn it in, I want you to write 3 things similar and 3 things different. So I'm going to say what are some similar things. So I'm going to start in the middle, and you can just write, and you, like I said, don't write them all. We have a whole bunch, but choose about 3. Ooh, so some of you guys wrote they were both really good at making plans on how to fix the big problems. They're both cunning, yeah, and somebody said they were both smart too. So they used their brains, okay? They both used what they could to do their job. Yeah, so the coyote found knives and rope, and the beaver was able to get away by using his body and swimming. So they both used what they could do, or they used things to help them complete their job. Ooh, I like this one. They both tell stories about the culture and land and how people were created. Or they were both animals from the legends of the Nimi-Poo, and they had strong characteristics, and they both helped others. Okay? They both were animals. So if you noticed, they weren't humans. They were both animals. And they solved the problem. They both wanted to help others. Okay, so the whole point is they wanted to help others. There was fire in both the stories. Let's see, the beaver and the coyote had one plan, and they completed it. They both have a type of personification, yes, because they are animals. So if you guys know what personification is. They both have a fight, okay? I'm going to say the one in the coyote has more of a fight because the beaver just kind of grabbed it and snuck away. And they were both a hero in their own right. Yep. And they were able to, add to the legend. So hopefully you were able to get something from that. I'm going to talk about the coyote next. Okay. The coyote, he fought a monster. Some of you guys thought he was kind of mean and bossy, okay, but very brave. Yep. And he was very fierce. Ooh, this is a big difference. The coyote was more of a leader than compared to the beaver. The beaver kind of hid, and depending on which story you read, the beaver just kind of did it. He didn't have anybody ask him or come and tell him. In the coyote story, we had all types of animals. Okay, so they didn't really, the monster was an animal. They didn't really talk about pines to where the beaver had a pine. Yeah, Riley?
The coyote sort of like stood up to the monster and showed him like his face. The beaver just hid and like waited until he could do something.
Yeah, so that coyote was super fierce. Yep. Whereas the beaver, yep, so this is where we're starting to go into the beaver. The beaver, he was kind of sneaky about it, wasn't he? He grabbed it and he ran away and he was super fast. Whereas the coyote, he faced it head on. He went right up to it and was like, well, like Berkeley wrote here, he's brave. Yeah, and the beaver is sneaky and noisy. So she actually described it very well. So yeah, the beaver, I mean, we've got trees in this, so there's more personification of trees. It was probably a little bit colder. And yeah, the beaver was very sneaky. He didn't really have anybody say, hey, go steal us fire, because it sounded like a lot of animals had already tried. Whereas the coyote had messengers and people actually needed help. Okay? Yeah, you're right, it was winter because they were cold. And the beaver, let's see, the coyote, he ended up spreading the monster around to create humans. And some people had to remind him, oh, don't forget this area. And the beaver just kind of gave it to everybody, the fire. Riley, did you have something else?
The coyote was asked to be helped and the beaver wasn't.
Yes. They asked him to save everybody from the monster. Let's see, the beaver, some of you guys were predicting, lived before the coyote. Yeah, so I'm thinking that fire, and that's actually a great inference, because I would think fire would have to come before humans. And they didn't talk about any humans here, to where if it was after, you'd probably see part of the Nimi Poo. And yeah, the beaver had people chasing him, whereas the coyote didn't really have anything chasing. I mean, he, like I said, went head on to the monster. Good job. Is there anything you guys added to your thing that you think wasn't added here that was important?
Maybe that the coyote wanted to be a leader and everybody looked up to him, whereas the beaver, he was just like a normal animal and no one really noticed that he was trying to like do something. Where, like, 1 second.
Oh, you're fine, Riley. We can hear you. So yeah, the coyote was more of a leader. Yep. And he did it without that help. Okay. Whereas the coyote, I mean, he even had friends too. He had friends with the fox and he had friends with the magpie that came and told him. And then the animals kind of stayed afterwards. Animals were a little bit angrier towards the coyote and happier towards the beaver. Hey, awesome job, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So go ahead and I want you to turn this in. Oh, here's some things that the book says. Ooh, actually, so as you turn this in, I'm going to tell you what the book says. The coyote was a careful planner, actually. And he does, if you remember, he does a lot of planning and preparation. Whereas the beaver is daring, he kind of relied on the luck and speed to kind of steal the coal. And he led the pines on a daring chase. Both helped those in need. Both knew the land very well. So beaver knew which course to run, and coyote knew how to gather pitch, where to find knives and get the hemp. And then both showed determination. So beaver continued to run, and coyote break several of his knives, but continued to carve away the monster's heart. Awesome job. Okay, so turn that in if you haven't already. And we are going to talk about personification. And we've got kind of a shorter lesson today. Personification. Ooh. I'm going to actually have you open your vocabulary journal. And let's categorize this right away. Ooh, so yesterday we had compare and contrast.
I haven't submitted it yet.
Okay, you can submit it. I'm just going to get this set up for us. Okay. When you're done, open up your vocabulary journal. And the word that we started talking about, we mentioned it, some of you guys added it into your compare and contrast, is we have this word personification. And that is when you give, like we said, give human qualities to an inanimate object. Inanimate means non-living. Let me make sure I'm spelling inanimate.
Coyotes are living.
They are. So technically, if we gave a human quality to that, it is not a personification. So trees are going to probably, well, technically, yes, they're living, but let's see, what is... I always considered personification. Oh, so actually it specifies in here. You're right. Meaning giving non-human things to giving human qualities to a non-human thing. So I'm going to write, so inanimate, I always thought like a rock, but the book clarifies it as a non-human thing. So I'm going to write that here. Gives human qualities to a non-human thing. Mm-hmm. Ooh. So I don't like the synonyms they gave us because you're not going to know what they mean. So animation, you might know, if you think of like anime or animation, like cartoons. The other word they gave us is okay, I got to pronounce this out. Anthoporomorphism. And that is a changing of an animation.
I just wrote animation because I know what that means.
So if you know what animation, write that down. But if you don't, I'm going to have us write an example. Okay, so an example would be having a rock smile. Or maybe we could even say having the sun smile. The sun is smiling down on us. So we're saying that the sun is actually smiling, but we know that the sun doesn't actually smile. Okay? I'll give you a couple more moments to write that down. And then we're going to look at some more of this in detail. Jacob, yeah.
You shouldn't say give human qualities to a non-human. You should say give human qualities to a non-humanoid because that would mean that like saying that an alien talks would be personification.
Or like a robot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's getting into more fiction. If you want to change it to humanoid, go for it. Because, yeah, technically you're right. Yep, humanoid. Because, human thing, like Jacob said, it could be like an alien. Although alien to me, it would be an alien, it wouldn't be a human. And then a robot, I'm going to just consider it a robot. Yeah, but you're right. So, we have... Where's our PowerPoint? That is my language arts. Here we go. We did not do that. We did that. Okay, so if we look at our story, how the beaver stole fire from the pines, what are some examples of personification in here? So I'm going to pull up.
Trees talking.
Oh, yeah. So here, let me pull it up. So we've got, the trees that are talking because they actually are meeting, right? And that should be, they raised a hue and a cry. So that is a great example here of personification for the trees. What other types of personification do we see? Or do you remember?
What are we doing right now?
So we're looking for examples of personification in the beaver story. So we said the pines, they raised a hue and a cry, so they cried out. What else? Let's see. Ooh. Let's see. Can trees actually build fires?
No.
No. So they built fires. That's a human thing that they do.
Posted.
Yeah, and bathing, and they posted around. They posted intruders. Yeah, you can't actually post trees. I suppose you could dig and grow trees there. Ooh, could pine trees have a jealous thought? No. If you want, you can look at my WebEx, you guys. They can't really have a jealous thought. Animals, yeah, they could freeze to death.
They can't have a secret.
Oh, yeah, they don't. Animals really don't have, pines don't have secrets. Ooh, let's look on the second page. Ooh, running. Can pine trees run?
It's working.
Is it because?
And I can't get on settings to like change the Wi-Fi, so I
Are
can't
you still
get
hooked
on.
up to
So, yeah.
Wi-Fi? My Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I can't.
We've got running. Trees, pine trees can't run. Let's see. Ooh, he said the cedar tree. Cedar trees can't talk. Okay. He stood and watched. Trees can't watch. Let's see. Since then, all who wanted fire have gotten it from these particular trees. Cedar still stands alone. Cedars actually can't stand.
Can like a beaver give fire to like a tree?
You're right. Beavers can't actually physically give. I mean, they could give.
And they couldn't like hold coals.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of at the beginning, right? To where he grabbed a coal. So he.
But that is sort of not like humans, because humans don't technically grab coals.
Okay. You're right. How about we maybe think about this whole section of it, though? So beavers don't really physically are going to grab something and hide it from a pine tree, right? So this idea of hiding it from the pine tree, they might hide it from other beavers or hide like food or fish from humans, but they're not going to necessarily do that with fire, right? So there isn't something specific in here with the beaver, but there's the idea that he stole. I mean, beavers can steal, I would say, but he's not going to necessarily steal a fire secret, right? So that one's a little bit more tricky because it's personification, but there isn't a specific word. Okay, there's more of this whole action and him taking flight. Okay, so him running away from the trees. Why would a beaver run away from a tree? Okay, because he knew he did something wrong. Well, beavers probably don't know. So most of our personification, is through the trees, because trees don't speak, they don't yell, they don't do a lot of those things. So, here's one. Here's a whole bunch. At a certain place in the Grand River in Idaho, the pines were about to hold a great council. They built a large fire to warm themselves after bathing in the icy water, and the sentinels were posted to prevent intruders from stealing their fire secret. But Beaver had hidden underneath the bank near the fire before the sentries had taken their place, and when a live coal rolled down the bank, he seized it, hid it in his breast, and ran away as fast as he could. So it talks a lot about personification, human qualities of the pines and the beaver. Good job. So, that is what I've got for today. Don't forget to do your fluency recording and read 30 minutes, and you can leave. Have a good rest